What's up, everybody? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22. This is Ben NFL week number 12. And as always, here with me, my co host, Derek Weatherly, also known as DWeezy. What's going on, man?
Man, ready to dive into these lines. It's another week. What is it? I believe week 12. We're almost three quarters of the way through the season, coming off a winning week. So ready to get back into things and, see what angles we can find.
Absolutely. As we do every single week, take you through our five best bets of the weekend, all the way through to the Super Bowl. And this week we'll be doing that. Um, we're recapping what happened in week number 11. So we'll do that right now. There wasn't much trends. Try to find something. There wasn't really anything. It was basically split down the middle or nothing that's really stood out. And it's been that way kind of the whole entire season. Um, a lot of 50-50 going either way, 50% winning percentage on a lot of whether it's home, away, home favorites, dogs, not nothing that stands out to you that a trend that you can stick out. Well, I guess one was home favorites. They were the biggest winner, but that hasn't really been the trend throughout the season. Um, well, home dogs, I think it was home dogs that was the biggest thing. And usually I like home dogs, but this season they haven't been hitting. It was last week, but I don't see that as going to be content. It was more of an outlier more than anything else. So um, nothing there, nothing too, nothing that stands out there. But we'll get into our records. Like you said, we'll go start with you. You had a winning week. How did you do?
Ended up going to 3-2 on the week. Finished up a little over a unit. Um, as far as my best bet, could, look at HN, who, cleared his rushing prop by almost 50 yards. Could look at Drake London, who cleared his receiving prop in the first half. But no, I'm going with CeeDee Lamb to score a touchdown, most specifically because my man here got to see it happen in person.
Nice.
And that just makes it just a little more sweeter.
And it was really sweet. Um,
Yes, so to be able to cash on that plus money, like I said, finish up a little bit over a unit on the week, definitely, good feeling when it's all said and done.
and my record did not do too well. It went 2-3. But I still feel good about it because my best pick was my Cowboys minus 3.5. I mean, I said it last week. If we lost this game, wasn't many opportunities that I was going to bet the Cowboys. Probably wasn't going to bet them at all going forward. Considering if you lose the Raiders, I mean, you're just a really bad team. But we did not. We kicked their ass. I was there to see it. I had a good time, and it was even better for my picks, for me personally. All the way around, it was good. So I don't mind having lose a record last week, because at least I got that win, and we sure did demolish them. Defense did look improved. We'll see how. I mean, it was the Raiders, but we'll see how much improved going forward. But it was improved. I mean, we've seen this defense lose to worse quarterbacks and worse offenses. So um, that was great to see. But my worst pick wasn't so good. Took the Bucks plus 5.5. I thought that'd be enough. I mean, that game went back and forth all game long. There was a ton of league changes. Really could have gone either way, but then the Bucks just really let it go in the fourth quarter. It just really got away from them. The Bills, took a double digit lead there, and put a stranglehold on that win, and that was just bad. Just Bucks can't really overcome those injuries that they've had throughout the season. I think they've dropped the last couple of games. And Bills, Josh Allen really bounced back. I mean, he played great. I mean, he's a little still that old Josh Allen before they started running the ball so much, and he went back to his old reckless stuff. So he still had his couple of interceptions, but still, even with his recklessness, he's still amazing, and he got that win, won it by double digits, and yeah, 5.5 with the Bucks with a good team. You think you have a good value there, but just not good enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure too many people expected the Bills to come in and put up, what was it, 44 points in that game. And especially like you said, a little bit of turnovers and things like that. Makes it an impressive feat to still, put up 40 plus on the board. Um, shows you just how badly Tampa's defense showed up this Sunday. Because, like you said, it did seem like this game was going to be closer than it ended up being. Tampa ultimately only ended up with, I believe, 24 points. But still, it had the feel of something that might become, sort of a gunslinger matchup, and that back and forth. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Yeah. And as far as my worst play on the week, you know, I felt confident about old man Flacco. We had Senior Bowl Part 2, and Flacco just went out there and fell on his face. I was real confident, he could clear his passing yardage going into that game, and unfortunately, that was not the case. A little bit of confrontation between cornerback for Pittsburgh, Ramsey, I believe it was, and Jamar Chase. Now we see a suspension coming down from that because of Jamar Chase's actions. You know, you can kind of expect that to happen when you spit in someone's face.
Hmm.
And I got to give Tomlin credit. I mean, got to be one of the better sound bites. A head coach flat out standing up for his player. Somebody spits in your face, you do it come naturally. And that's what we saw take place on the field. And so, is it possible that some of the Pittsburgh defense had gotten in the heads of the offensive players? Sure, that's a case, but ultimately, saw Flacco not even getting close to flirting with an over on his passing prop from this Sunday.
Yeah, I was worried about that one because Joe Flacco is really streaky. Like you see him do good games and then he just falls off and then he's not good no more. And that's what we kind of see is later, um, um, part of his career. So yeah, I was a little worried for you, and obviously it didn't work out. But that is week number 11. And we'll move on to week number 12. Before we do that, if you guys can go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, can also help us out by um, subscribing to our Patreon, Ko-Fi as well. All those links are in the description down below. So, um, you know, do that. And we very much appreciate it. And we appreciate you all for watching. Um, but now we will get into our 5 best bets of week number 12. And since you had the winning week, you can go ahead and start us off.
All right, well, let's jump into one of the hottest teams this year, and one of the most unexpected teams. And no, I'm not talking about the Colts. We're going to New England with the Patriots. Drake May, second season has definitely shown to be a talent. Is he the quarterback for the future? At the moment, it seems to be that way. Now it's hard to say. We're still talking about a young player, but there is definitely a lot of upside and a lot of excitement going into the future with this team overall, and going into this matchup with the Jets. We're talking about a
The Bengals.
oh, excuse me, yeah, the Bengals. I'm thinking about another play. um but yeah, we're talking about a bad defense with the Bengals going up against one of the hottest offenses. I was on this offense a little bit last week with the Diggs TD. Unfortunately for my bet, Henderson decided to just dominate the game with, I believe he had 3 TDs overall. My fantasy team loved it, but unfortunately the bet didn't play out. Um, but still, we're talking about an offense that has, I believe, in all but one game, or no, excuse me, past 4 games, he's gone over on his passing prop. We're talking about 31st ranked pass defense in the league. A lot of things that lean towards that we're going to see this Patriots offense be able to move the ball through the air. And if we see anything like what we've seen throughout this season, The accuracy of Drake May, we're going to see him get over this number of 254 and a half.
And we are in the same mind wing length. I don't know how we do it, but we just seem to do it every single week. And I am on this game as well for very much the same reason because Drake May is like the highest quarterback in the league right now. So I'll be taking them Patriots -7 at the Cincinnati Bengals. This game was just this morning was at 8.5, but then the news came down that Joe Burrow was practicing and probably will start for the Bengals. But that didn't scare me. That didn't scare me at all because, like you said, this Bengals defense is really, really bad, and Joe Burrow does not play defense. I mean, offense wasn't really their problem. Joe Flacco was, before last week, was putting up some numbers, and he looked just as good as Burrow was playing. Um, so I was, and they were still losing. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried about that Burrow
And it's
starting.
definitely worth remembering Chase with his 1 game
Yeah,
suspension.
that's what I
So
was
we're
gonna
talking
mention.
about, yeah, him
He's
being
missing his
out for this
best
game.
weapon. He's probably not 100%. So -7's big number, but that defense is just that bad. I mean, it's really just betting against that defense. And Drake May, and I do believe Drake May is going to continue his hot streak. He looks great throughout the season, and I don't see how he finds any resistance against the Bengals defense. Um, Patriots undefeated on the road as well. Great road team. That's against the spread as well. So definitely like him here. Yeah, Patriots -7 is a play.
Uh, Going into my next play, going to another player that has been hot for the past few weeks and really been dominating his position throughout the season. And we're going to Seattle with Jackson Smith and Jigba. JSN has just been, clearing numbers left and right all season since Sam Darnold came to town. They're definitely on the same page there. We got a defense, 31st in completion percentage, and that works in the favor of Sam Darnold. The Tennessee defense struggles to get interceptions, 25th in the league. Seattle's averaging only a sack a game, so they're keeping Sam Darnold upright, and that's been the issue with him in the past. If you can get to if you can get to Darnold, you can rattle him. That's how you beat him. Well, if you ain't getting there, he's got time and the arm to potentially pick you apart. And he's shown all season that with JSN out there, he can find him, he can get the ball in his hands, and he's the type of playmaker that once you accomplish that, there's no telling how far he might go with the ball. So on this one, going with the alternate number, bumping it up a little bit to get to that plus money, but going with over 104 and a half receiving yards in this game. He's gone over 100 yards multiple times this season. Yes, it is a bit of a high number for a wide receiver, but again, like I've said, we're talking about the number one weapon for Seattle. And in this matchup, I definitely like the potential for JSN to have a big game. So I definitely take that, putting the number up a little bit to get that plus money at plus 119. But over 104 and a half. This is something he's cleared multiple times this season. So looking for him to light up the field this coming Sunday.
It is like you are in my brain. I don't know why. I don't know how we do it. We're on the same game once again because I am taking the Seahawks -13.5 at the Tennessee Titans. And I normally don't take these type of games. I don't like the double digits, especially on the road. But that's just how bad the Tennessee Titans really are. I mean, they do nothing good. Nothing offensively, nothing defensively. They're bad all the way around. They're lucky to even have their one win. They got it off of a fluke play with the Cardinals game. They really shouldn't have any wins. This is the worst team against one of the best teams. So I mean, that's why the spread is the way it is. And if they put it that way, they expect the Seahawks to demolish them. I expect them to demolish them. So that's why I'm comfortable laying the points there. Um, and obviously we saw Darnold not have a great game, but even with all those picks that he threw, they were still in the game. They were still down, almost won it with that last field goal that the kicker missed. So despite all that, even when they looked bad, they still look pretty damn good. I mean, that's how good the Seahawks been playing, and their defense is stellar. Their coach has made that defense look really really good, and versus a rookie quarterback in Cam Ward, that's just a recipe for disaster for the Titans. So I expect Donald to bounce back. Um, Seahawks 5-0 against the spread last 5 games, 5-0 on the road against the spread as well, and Titans 5-15 against the spread in the last 20 games. They are sorry against the spread, so definitely love. Even though it's certain half, still love the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the points you just mentioned, it can be a little dangerous taking double digit, spreads in the NFL. But when you're talking about a defense that has excelled this season under their head coach, who's, really the defensive mind there. I'm not sure who the defensive coordinator is, but really it's McDaniels. Basically, I'm not, maybe he's not calling the plays, but he's the one running that defense. And we saw what he did in Baltimore in the past as the defensive coordinator there. It's clearly translated over to Seattle. And like you said, a rookie quarterback, that is not an equation that typically leads to success. Now, moving into, my next play, we like to go with hot players, hot teams. You like to try and find those tens. Well, on this one, I'm kind of bucking against the trend a little bit. We got a player that's starting to get healthy, missed a few weeks, got a few weeks back under his belt. See, let's see what Lamar Jackson can do this weekend because I got him, score a TD plus 195. Typically you don't always find this number this high on Lamar. Now, he hasn't scored a rushing touchdown since he came back from injury, but we are talking about one of the worst defenses out there. I mean, that it's just that simple. We're talking about the New York Jets. This D line is missing Quinnen and Williams. Clearly you would, top talent in the NFL. So, that's definitely, you don't have something just waiting in the wings to replace that. That's that simple. Um, and you're also talking about a defense that's 22nd against the rush. You know, yes, there's a little bit of concern, like I said, how healthy is Lamar, but we've also seen him utilized within the red zone, within, the 5 yard line to uh, get the TD with his legs. And this being an anytime touchdown when you're talking quarterbacks, you got to get it on the rush. Unless we see, some trickeration, if they got, some Philly special they want to bust out, I'll gladly watch Lamar go into the end zone on a receiving TD. But, you know, other than that, we're going to have to see him run the ball in there. And so the question is, how healthy are those legs? Has he completely gotten over his hamstring struggles? And like I said, at plus 195, I definitely like the ability to get in on this number at a plus number while we can.
Yeah, it is going against the trend. I mean, although the Ravens as a team, they're trending up, but individually, Lamar Jackson's play has been trending downwards. And that could be, he's played some defenses. Of course, he played the Browns defense, and the Jets, don't have not nearly the same defense as the Browns. Um,
Definitely ain't no Miles Garrett out there for the
no,
Jets.
no, there is not. But it still was worrying. This was one of the ones I was considering. I mean, it was another one of those games with the big point spreads, and it was like, yeah, it's right there to take. Good team, well, at least a team that's looking really good in the past few weeks versus obviously the Jets who are really bad. So it was another one of those matchups, but honestly, it's because Lamar Jackson's played that maybe hesitate, maybe not want to take it because I don't know if he is going to get back to it this week or when he will get back. So that made me hesitant, made me not want to take that game, um, even though I was considering it. But it made me stay away from it just because I need to see him, do it for some consistent weeks, to be back on that train. But I'll get to my next pick, and that will be the Packers plus six. Well, no, it was -6.5. Not plus six, -6.5. Versus the Vikings. Like the Packers this week because mostly because of their defense against another. He's not a rookie quarterback, but he's a first year starter, JJ McCarthy. He hasn't really looked good at all from most of the games. Obviously he's had his comebacks against the Bears late in the fourth quarter, but for most of those games he really didn't look good. Um, and I expect Michael Parsons to be all over him in this week. As Parsons had a great game against the Giants last week, I expect him to continue that into this week. So yeah, it's just kind of the same idea. Young quarterback versus a good defense doesn't usually turn out too well for that young quarterback. Jordan Love, he's been up and down. Did have a very good comeback against the Giants. Um, Vikings also turn the ball over a lot, 18 giveaways. They're prone to do that. Vikings are also just 1-4 against the spread last 5 games. So I'm on the Packers this week, -6.5. It's a lot for a divisional matchup, but I trust them because I just don't think the Vikings can really do much in offense against this Packers defense, and I don't think they can really score. So the Packers just need to get up a touchdown, cover the spread.
Yeah, when it comes to the Vikings, the only thing you really got to think about when you're talking about their offense is there are people having legitimate conversations on why didn't this team keep Sam Darnold? Now, by no means is anybody going to say Sam Darnold is great or a franchise quarterback. But as I mentioned earlier, talking about Seattle as I was covering my play, he's good enough that if you put the pieces around him, he can excel. Keep him upright, he can excel. That hasn't really been the case with what's been going on in Minnesota this year. Like you said, first year starter, technically kind of a rookie because he didn't play last season because of injury. A little bit of injury this season, missing time. We saw Carson Wentz have to come in a few games. O-line has struggled throughout the season. So there's a lot to this game that makes you wonder how well will the Vikings be able to keep up with the Green Bay Packers in this matchup. And with someone like a Micah Parsons out there, is he going to be out there running like a gazelle, chasing down the quarterback? Would not be shocked. Potentially something to look at. Sack prop, maybe even going multiple sacks, depending on what the odds are looking like. Now moving in, to my next play, mixing things up a little bit here. Now this is a team y'all have heard me talk about before. Uh, Going out to Detroit, this is a multi-headed weapon when it comes to this offense, and really that's what I'm gonna try and take advantage here. Struggled in the past with just trying to find that one person, hitting the TD. Well, looking to mix things up a little bit, but we're going with a Gibbs and St. Brown anytime TD parlay plus 136. The books are, saying flat out both these players are damn near -2 to 1, if not higher, with their anytime TD props by themselves. The books are screaming at us that these guys are going to get into the end zone in this game. Why not take advantage of that? Throw them together, get that plus money. If anything, have to risk a little bit less and get some more value in return. This is, one of the higher power offenses in the league this season, going up against a Giants defense that has given up 24 more points, going all the way back to the Philly game where they only gave up 17. We've seen injuries pile up just up and down. I mean, it looks like a laundry list of players when you take a peek at the injury report. And the 30th in rushing yards per game this season so far. Gibbs has been a dominant force in the run game, also in the pass game. St. Brown has been the TD monster that he's been in previous seasons. Goff is playing it, very efficiently. One of the top QBRs in the league currently, and both from efficiency as far as pass completion and things of that nature. So a bad defense going up against a very good offense, getting that plus money plus 136. Gibbs, St. Brown, anytime TDs.
Yeah, it was just the way I stayed off this game is because just what they did last week. Nobody looked good on that offense. They went up against a great defense in the Eagles, but it just scared me away. I believe they can come back. They always kind of blow out inferior teams, um, but they just look really bad in that game. Um, and they couldn't really get anything going. I'm sure they'll probably bounce back. Obviously, the Giants have nothing in the DBs, but they have a pretty strong front seven, and Brian Burns is like one of the top leaders in sacks. Um, so we'll see. We'll see if the Lions can bounce back and get it going. But my next bet, I got the where am I at? I got the Bears minus 2.5. At home versus the Steelers. Like this one, uh, because obviously you got Aaron Rodgers coming against his old foe and the team that he says that he owns, and the Chicago Bears. Um, and that's why I kind of like the Bears this one. I think the fans are going to show up. They're going to be very riled up. They're going to be wanting to give it to him. Um, and he has a wrist injury, so he's a little hampered. Um, obviously not 100%. Don't know how much that's going to affect him because I think it's on his non-throwing hand. Um, or do you know if it's on his throwing hand or not?
I believe it's the non-throwing
Yeah.
hand. But there still are some concerns about handling the ball. Yeah,
Hmm.
how's he going to brace himself, going to the ground, things of that nature. So it's definitely something to account for and keep in mind.
Yeah, and
So
Bears, haven't been great on defense, but they do are opportunistic. They cause a lot of
yeah,
turnovers.
they do.
So I think that's going to be enough to overcome, a Steelers offense that's pretty limited. They, play a lot of, multiple tight end sets and haven't really got it to the receivers a lot. Rogers, has some good games, but I don't expect him to really have a good game in this one. Um, so for all those factors, Bears 6-2 against the spread last 8 games, so definitely good covering team. It's just minus 2.5. It's not a huge spread at all, and they're at home, so definitely like the Bears in this one. I think the Bears Nation will finally get their revenge on old Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, well, we'll see if that birth certificate gets changed. All right, wrapping up my plays for this week, we got one of the better rookies out there, definitely a contender for rookie of the year, and that's going with Tyler Warren up in the Indianapolis with the Colts, going anytime TD plus 190. Now, this worked for me the last time I was able to, call correctly his first TD. He's done gotten a few more since then. He's coming off a big week. Not 100% sure if it was a career day, but I do believe last week was a career day in receptions and yardage. I believe he had 8 receptions. I know he had 99 yards. So a big week. Unfortunately, didn't get into the end zone that week. But within this offense, he's definitely been a weapon. He's frequently utilized. He's gotten at least 4 receptions in all but one game this season. He had double digit targets last week. He's had 8 and 9 targets multiple times throughout the season. And so there, clearly he is a piece within this offense, and being able to get this number at plus 190, a little bit on the higher side, but still like this matchup and still like what he can do within this offense. And even as we get later into the season, um, not just to have, the playoff drive, but you also got that, drive, like I said, a potential rookie of the year candidate. If I'm not mistaken, he might be the receiving yardage leader for rookies. But either way, definitely still in that conversation. Might even be the favorite in some betting markets out there for rookie of the year. So very excited to see what he can do in this matchup, and even as we move later into the season.
Yeah, I liked the Colts getting the points in this one, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know about the Chiefs. Chiefs, could be wanting this really bad. Obviously, their playoff chances are lowering every single week. So I didn't know. I kind of stayed away from it. Didn't have a good feel for it, even though I did like the Colts getting the points. But it's not one of my bets, and so I will get to my last bet. And you know what? After last week, after finally seeing my team win in person, feeling a little optimistic, just a little bit. I think we can get on a little bit of a run here. And that's why I will be taking the Cowboys at home plus 3.5 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Our defense definitely looked better, as I mentioned. How much better? Not sure yet, but it's better, and that's all it needed to be. That's all it needed to be, and that's why I said it all. It just needed to be better than what it was, because the offense was playing well, and the offense got back to playing well against in the on that Monday night game, and I think they will continue to play well. Um, and we almost won the first game. We should have won the first game. If CeeDee Lamb doesn't drop all those balls, we win that game. So I think we were always a good matchup against the Eagles. Dak has a great record um, against the NFC East, but specifically at home against the NFC East, he's only lost 2 games in his career. Um, so Dak, I mean, Dak plays well, he plays well at home throughout the season. We've put up a ton of points. Um, Eagles struggling on offense. We've seen that in multiple games this season. They really struggle to really do anything. I mean, to even move the ball is tough for them because they can't really run it with Saquon. Jalen Hurts has problems throwing the ball. AJ Brown's complaining about not getting the ball. Um, and I think the Cowboys can finally stop the run. We have Quinn Williams. We got him. Um, we have Quinn Williams and Kenny Clark. I think we can stop the run, especially when Saquon Barkley hasn't been himself. Um, so, like I said, just a little bit better on defense is all we need because we'll put up points on offense, and we were moving the ball. Obviously they didn't have Jalen Carter last time, but I don't think that's going to be so much of a difference. And I think we'll be moving the ball just as well as we were in the first game, and if we can do that, um, I don't think they'll be able to keep up, and that's crazy to say considering how bad our defense was. But I think that their offense has been struggling just as much. So I like them getting the 3.5. The hook is great to have because it's maybe a field goal game. So even if we lose, don't think it'll be more than the field goal. So I think the hook saves us from on this one.
Yeah, when it comes to Philadelphia, we're talking about a offense that, in a lot of ways, this season has looked broken. And I mean, there's no real reason that to define it or list as the cause. We see a lot of little things going on, but for whatever reason, the pieces just don't seem to be meshing in the way they have in the past. which seems, odd because we're talking about, the majority of this offense being, you know, were members of that Super Bowl team. So, we're talking about, Super Bowl winning core players. And that's not typically what you see when you have this kind of offense put together. You add in Saquon Barkley, change the dynamic of the offense a little bit, but still, very successful. But yet this season we've seen this offense really struggle in numerous different ways, and so it makes it difficult trying to take them, especially as a favorite, especially on the road. You're talking about a Cowboys offense offensively, the Cowboys definitely have fallen off this season. It's been defensively, if anything, where they've really struggled. And so, if you can get some manageable play out of the defense and get a couple stops in the right moments, you're definitely talking the Cowboys potentially winning this game at minimum. Keeping it close within that 3.5 points.
Yeah, and I just think we're the more desperate team. Every game is a playoff game right now. Just because we lose, I mean, it's over. I mean, we just it's not mathematically over, but it's basically uh, very very some chance of doing anything. So we have to play like it'll the season be over if we don't win. And I do think we have even more to play for. I think they played very inspired after the loss of Marshawn Nealon. Um, I think they felt that they have even something more to play for, more than football. So I think they'll play inspired and they'll continue that. And like I said, I really do think that they'll get on a little bit of a streak here. Um, but so I faith in my Cowboys, and that's why I'm taking them. But yeah, that is our show. And that we'll be back here next week doing the same thing, giving our five best bets. But for now, you can tell everybody where they can find you, DWeezy.
Yes, folks, you can catch me here. You can catch me at Backyard Action Media at the Yard Bets on Twitter. Make sure to have your notifications turned on because there will be some shorts and things of that nature coming out. Not just talking football, but some other sports as well. Putting out some definitely some basketball, maybe some NHL, possibly some soccer as MLS rolls back around, maybe some international soccer. We do have the World Cup coming up in 2026. So, there's definitely, a lot of action out there to be found. So, like I said, folks, make sure to have those notifications on so you can be on top of everything that we got coming out.
And you can find me at NFL Camps 12 on Instagram and Twitter /X. And you can find me on this channel doing Good Friends, Battle Rivals, talking Cowboys, talking Giants. We'll be talking more about our big win against the Raiders on Friday, and looking forward and talking more about this Cowboys Eagles matchup as well, and whoever the hell the Giants play, but they'll probably lose. So, um, so tune in for that. And as always, safe betting out there. Only bet what you can afford to lose, and let's get ready to make that money.